Guys. Guys, we have a problem. We have a fucking problem!
Why are you disturbing our game?
I don't mind. Perfect timing. What's up?
What is this shit?
This is our problem.
So the legends are true.
I know they are forbidden, but it can be our future as well.
First you're interrupting our game, then you bring this thing here, and what's your problem? What's the big deal?
Well, this has happened in S-Strip 1 and can happen in all districts as well.
1984, in earlier stages named The Last Man in Europe, is a dystopian novel written by George Orwell. The author, too famous for his allegorical novella Animal Farm, has written a total of 6 novels and many other books, articles and poems. He is nowadays most famous as a novelist for his highly acclaimed work 1984. The novel was written shortly after war and published in 1949. The story is set in the province of Oceania, which was formerly known as Great Britain. In this world, Big Brother, leader of the party, exerts complete control. Every act is being watched, every mind is under control. Even thinking badly about a party can lead to certain death. Winston Smith is a civilian of Oceania and lives in a small apartment in London. He is discontent with the government, who always has a watchful eye to look over you with the use of telescreens placed in every building. These screens, together with hidden microphones and cameras, enable the Fall Police to report anyone outing malcontent behavior. Winston works as an editor at the Ministry of Truth, rewriting history and editing photos to the party's pleasing. He is fascinated by the true past and started writing about his hatred in a legally bought diary when he thinks he isn't being watched, which is a highly punishable crime. After being slipped a note by Julia, a woman working in the same building, with a confession of her love, he discovers that she, too, loves the party. They meet away from the watchful eye of Big Brother as they start their love affair. First they meet in the country, while after they rent a room without any telescreens, thinking that there they will be safe. Winston and Julia aren't the only ones against the party. There's the Brotherhood, a secret society out to destroy the party. Some weeks after the two have started their affair, Winston is approached by O'Brien, who he believes is an agent of the Brotherhood. The two of them meet together with Julia at O'Brien's apartment and swear themselves to the Brotherhood. A week after, Winston receives a book from O'Brien, which explains how the party can be overthrown. When Winston and Julia meet again in the room they often rent, the Far Police captures them and takes them away for interrogation. It appears the men who had rented them the room, as well as O'Brien, were part of the Far Police agents. The two of them are interrogated and tortured in the most awful of ways. The government wants the total power over everyone. They want them to say 2 + 2 = 5, just because they tell them to. To totally break Winston, they confront him with his worst fear, rats. O'Brien threatens that they will eat away at his face when Winston screams, "Do it to Julia!" and so betraying her. Both Winston and Julia are released and meet again in the park, where they confess to have betrayed one another. They do no longer continue their affair. Winston is left so scarred and broken that he does not even dare to think anything rebellious. The last sentence of the book states that he loves Big Brother. The book showcases that the government can have a great deal of control over us, but shows too the extent they have to go to be able to pull that off.
Well, if that's wrong, I have a very easy solution. We just send everyone who disobeys the party, we just send them to an island.
And Then There Were None, Agatha Christie. The mystery novel And Then There Were None is written in 1939 by Agatha Christie. It is the world's best-selling mystery and one of the best-selling books of all time, with more than 100 million copies sold. Its popularity goes further than only England. The novel has been translated in at least 45 languages, varying from Swedish to even Bengali and Chinese. It is considered as Christie's masterpiece, and that's definitely for a reason. In And Then There Were None, a group of people who are completely unknown to each other are invited to spend some time in a huge villa on an island called Soldier Island. They're all invited for a different reason. One is offered a job, one is told to have a short holiday, etc. Their hosts are also someone they never met, a couple named Mrs. and Mr. Owen. When arrived on the island, Mr. and Mrs. Owen aren't present, but instead they're welcomed by the butler and housekeeper, Mr. and Mrs. Rogers. While Mr. and Mrs. Rogers prepare dinner, everyone settles themselves in their rooms. In every room, a copy of her nursery rhyme called 10 Little Soldiers is attached to the wall. On the table in the dining room also stand 10 soldier figurines. Time to dine. After supper, a gramophone record is played, but instead of music, the voice of an unknown man is being heard. The voice mentions every person in the room, followed by an accusation of murder, and then asks if any of the accused wishes to offer a defense. Hell breaks loose among the visitors, all but 2 denying the charges. They discover that none of them actually knows the Owens, and conclude that the name UN Owen is shorthand for unknown. Not much later, one of the cats finishes his drink and immediately dies from cyanide poisoning. The remaining guests notice that one of the 10 figurines is broken and that the manner of death follows the nursery rhyme. 10 little soldier boys went out to dine. One choked his little self, and then there were 9. 9 little soldier boys sat up very late. One overslept himself, and then there were 8. 8 little soldier boys traveling in Devon. One said he would stay there, and then there were 7. 7 little soldier boys chopping up sticks. One chopped himself in halves, and then there were 6. 6 little soldier boys playing with a hive. A bumblebee stung one, and then there were 5. 5 little soldier boys going in for law. One got into chancery, and then there were 4. 4 little soldier boys going out to sea. A red herring swallowed one, and then there were 3. 3 little soldier boys walking in the zoo. A big bear hugged one, and then there were 2. 2 little soldier boys sitting in the sun. One got frizzled up, and then there was one little soldier boy left all alone. He went out and hanged himself, and then there were none. From that moment, the visitors are being killed one by one, almost exactly following the rhyme. Who is the killer among them all, and will anyone survive? And then there were none isn't labeled as a dystopian novel, but it could have been labeled as one perfectly. Soldier Island can be seen as the dystopian world they're living in. Once they enter the island, there's no way of going back anymore. The visitors are on an island together with a murderer, not knowing who it is. Every one of them is living in fear. There's nobody they can trust, and knowing that at every moment they can be the next victim is driving them crazy. An inhuman environment like this can definitely be seen as a dystopia. So it may not be a classic example, like a dystopian book like 1984 is. Instead of the whole world or a whole country being a very bad place to be, it is limited to a single island. This novel shows that there is a lot of diversity within the genre. With movies being made, books being written, television shows being aired, and games being made based on this masterpiece from Christie, it can be considered as a very influential novel. The book was praised a lot when it was released and is still being praised nowadays.
And murder them.
Well, isn't that a bit rash? Won't anyone notice that?
Stacy, please.
Stop calling me Stacy. How many times do I have to tell you that I want to be called bad bitch?
Yeah, bitch!
Sure, Stacy.
Well, our problem is just creativity, just like in here.
Fahrenheit, written by Ray Bradbury, is a dystopian novel set in a world where it is a pleasure to burn. The novel was published in 1953 and is to this day still considered one of Bradbury's best works. The author once stated that his concerns about the threat of book burnings in the United States were the inspiration to write the novel. In a world not known to us somewhere after the year 1960, firemen were hired not to extinguish fires, but to set them. Guy Montag, one of these firemen in employment, burns the possessions of those who read books banned by the government. A day on his way home, after having the feeling of being watched for several days now, he meets his new neighbor, Clarice McClellan. She is everything one is not supposed to be in their world. With a free spirit and curiosity, she is found to be different in school, as she tells him when they meet as Guy walks home from work. After several days, Clarice goes missing and Guy is worried about her. While working, he steals a book from a woman who wanted to die with them. When getting ready for bed that night, he hides the book from his wife Mildred. When trying to make conversation with his wife, Guy brings up Clarice and asks if Mildred has seen her around. She says to have heard Clarice died in a car accident and her family moved away. The next morning, Guy wakes up ill and decides to stay at home from work. He tells Mildred about the woman they burned last night and about how he might want to quit his work. Mildred isn't pleased with his decisions and claims that it was the woman's own fault, since she was the one who possessed books. Chief Beatty comes by Guy's home to check up on him. He tells him about the reason books are burnt, in the name of public happiness. Beatty, too, says it is common for firemen to get curious and steal a book. As long as they return it within a day and burn it, their family won't get in trouble. After Beatty has left, Guy confesses to Mildred that he has stolen and hid multiple books over the years. In a panic, Mildred incinerates them in their kitchen. Guy has one book left and wants to see if it's worth anything. Mildred doesn't want anything to do with the book. Guy remembers he once met a retired English professor named Faber and goes to visit him. Faber tells Guy that a book itself isn't worth a thing. It are the ideas it contains and the freedom to act upon those ideas that make a book special. The two of them decide to break the status quo and distribute books in firemen's houses to give them less credibility. They want to break the censorship. With the use of an earpiece, the two men stay connected. When Guy comes home that day, Mildred and two of her friends are watching television. They talk about their families and the upcoming war without actual care. Their shallowness angers Guy and he takes out his book and starts reading out loud. Faber tells him through the earpiece to shut up, while Mildred tries to make excuses for him. The women are not amused and leave to file a complaint. Guy returns to the fire station to return a book when an alarm goes off. It appears to be from Guy's house. Mildred has betrayed him. Beatty forces Guy to burn his own books and arrests him. As Beatty criticizes him for his behavior, Guy gets the flamethrower and burns Beatty to ashes. He knocks out his fellow fireman and runs. The Hound, a mechanical dog, chases after Guy and manages to bite him, which leave his legs numb. Guy destroys the Hound with a flamethrower. Fahrenheit depicts perfectly how our freedom and creativity can be easily undermined, yet we shouldn't let it be taken away easily.
Do you have more books?
What, you have a bad idea?
Gold and dragons.
The Hobbit by J.R. Tolkien is a dystopian fantasy novel. The story starts with Gandalf tricking Bilbo into hosting a party for Thorin and his band of dwarves. Gandalf unveils a map showing a secret door into the mountain and proposes that Bilbo serve as the expedition's burglar. The dwarves ridicule the idea, but Bilbo still joins. The group travels into the wild, where Gandalf saves the company from trolls and leads them to Rivendell, a city of elves, where Elrond reveals more secrets from the map. Passing over the misty mountains, they are caught by goblins and then taken to the king deep underground. Gandalf rescues them again, but Bilbo gets separated from the others as they flee and he gets lost in the goblin tunnels. There he stumbles across a mysterious golden ring and then encounters Gollum, who challenges him in a game of riddles. As a reward for solving all the riddles, Gollum will show him the exit. But if Bilbo fails, his life will be over. With the help of the ring, which gives the wearer invisibility, Bilbo escapes and rejoins the dwarves. The goblins and warg riders give chase, but the company are saved by eagles before resting in the house of Beorn, a nature-loving skin changer. Then the company enters Mirkwood without Gandalf. In Mirkwood, Bilbo first saves the dwarves from giant spiders, and then from the dungeons of the wood elves who captured them. Close to the Lonely Mountain, the travelers are welcomed by the human inhabitants of Lake Town, who hope the dwarves will fulfill the prophecies of Smaug's demise. The expedition travels to the Lonely Mountain and finds the secret door. Bilbo scouts the dragon's lair, stealing a great cup and learning of a weakness in Smaug's armor. The enraged dragon thought that Lake Town has aided the intruder and sets out to destroy the town. A thrush had overheard Bilbo's report of Smaug's vulnerability and reports it to the Lake Town defender Bard. His arrow finds the chink in the armor and slays the dragon at the last possible second. When the dwarves take possession of the mountain, Bilbo finds the Arkenstone, an heirloom of Thorin's dynasty, but he hides it away. The Wood Elves and Lake Men besiege the mountain and request compensation for their aid, reparations for Lake Town's destruction, and settlement of old claims on the treasure. Thorin refuses, and having summoned his kin from the Iron Hills, reinforces his position in the mountain. Bilbo tries to ransom the Arkenstone to head off a war, but Thorin is stubborn and he banishes Bilbo. The battle seems inevitable. Then Gandalf reappears to warn all of an approaching army of goblins and wargs. The dwarves, men and elves band together, but only with the arrival of the eagles and Beorn do they win the battle of 5 armies. Thorin is fatally wounded and reconciles with Bilbo before he dies. Bilbo accepts only a small portion of his share of the treasure, having no need for more, but still returns home a very wealthy hobbit. In this dystopian world, filled with goblins, orcs and wargs, this small party set invent the motion for the story Lord of the Rings. I like the story very much. It has some great actions and many exciting moments.
Sure, let's make that plan B.
Well, I happened to stumble upon this. It might be a solution. In this book, they just give the person who is rebellious a responsibility. If you are interested in dystopian novels, this is really a book you should read. It is written by Dave Edgers and it's also a bit science fiction, but then really of the near future. The book gives a lot of food for thought, so if that's what you're interested in, I would really recommend it. The company The Circle is at the center of the story. The Circle is a fictional combination of Google, Facebook and the NSA. Dave Edgers uses this company to respond to the growing fear of people to lose their privacy and the fear of the growing power of internet companies. The Circle gathers all of the information available on the internet of an individual and combines it in the database, the TrueU. At first, this is all of the information the company can get, but that changes when they invent an HD camera. The main character of the book is May Holland, who starts working for the Circle after her friend Annie had recommended her. She starts with a not so important job, at which she has to answer questions from customers. After each phone call, the customers are asked to complete a survey about their satisfaction of the service. May is very competitive and manages to get the highest score for a newbie, which is how they call a new employee at the Circle. Her friend Annie shares her accomplishment at Ting account, the social media of the company. So May gets a lot of attention. After her first week at the company, May visits her parents, who are very proud of her. During her visit, her father tells her about his struggle with the health insurance. At her second work week, she needs to become acquainted with the several social media that the company has, and so she must spend several hours on sharing her opinion with the rest of the world. Next weekend, she also spends with her parents. The Circle provides her parents with a health insurance, and in return they have to install some cameras in their homes. At this point, May's parents start to get their doubts at the ideals of the Circle. Her employers aren't happy to find out that May kayaks, without sharing that on social media. The slogans of the company are "Privacy is theft, sharing is caring, and secrets are lies." To make up to the company, they make her wear an HD camera that will film her 24/7, so she becomes a transparent employee. The Circle doesn't only make its employees become transparent, but also politicians. They force them by letting them voluntarily become transparent, or let the Circle find files of child porn on their computer, which will mean the end of their career. The cameras are also spread through public places all over the world. May is in the meantime completely obsessed with being transparent and posting messages to social media. She barely sees Annie, and the bond with their parents and her ex Mercer also gets worse. One day, Mercer announces in a letter to May that he went offline and fled to the north. During the demonstration of a new invention, Soul Search, a system at which contacts and cameras all over the world can find people, May tracks Mercer down as an example. Panicked by all the flying drones around him, Mercer accidentally drives off a bridge and dies. Meanwhile, Annie lies in a coma because of all the stress she had due to the bad history of her family as slave traders. At the end of the book, May visits her in the hospital. Still enchanted by the power of the company, she looks to the hospital screen with the brain activity and wonders why there isn't a device yet that can read people's minds. She finds it selfish of Annie to keep her thoughts to herself. The world has the right to know. Can help?
Satisfied?
Sure.
Let's continue the game.
Well, I really have to be somewhere, so if you don't mind.
Well, okay, Stacy. Bring it on. 4 of a kind. Beat that.